My dear Bagginses and Buffins.
By the blood of our people, are your lands kept safe?
I see in your eyes the same fear that will take the heart of me.
So do all who live to see such times.
By all that you hold dear, this good earth.
There's some good in this world, and it's worth fighting.
Welcome back. We are continuing our revisit of the first season of The Rings of Power. This is episode 3, entitled Adar. So let's just get right to it. We've got an opening which takes place in a very creepy orc slave pit. I think these scenes are always well done.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
The voices are good.
Yeah. I don't think anyone has a problem with this, and this isn't spoilers, this is just kind of sad news. The actor playing Adar won't be back, so it is sad because his scenes are always pretty good. All right, so we move on to
Maybe they'll write him out real quick. Like Halbrand just stabs him, and the orcs need a new leader. So that's it.
honestly, because we know he's gone, I think I prefer that than just to have him vanish. The other option is he is somehow transformed or something. Maybe he's wearing armor and then he's killed that way. Like maybe you can keep the character around with a different actor wearing a helmet for a little bit. But I think just a confrontation between the two, a really quick one, is a way to really establish Sauron as a true power, because as we'll see in this next scene, Sauron and Galadriel, these scenes, in hindsight, they're very strange still. I'm watching this knowing full well what's about to happen. I still don't know what's going on in these scenes. Like, I'm still confused by these characters. Why is Galadriel being weird like this? Why is Halbrand being weird? Like, everything is so weird.
Yeah. So I said Arondir unites with the elves. This still looks pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah. So now we have Galadriel awakening on a boat.
Yeah.
So the ship looks good. We don't really have any movie stuff to compare.
No, I will say though that there's a lot of just the way that they've written this part. Galadriel comes awake and is disheveled and kind of crazy. It just feels like it's they don't quite the character herself. She's usually in more control than that. I know it's a weird situation, but we'll see later on in this episode and next episode that even when things don't go her way or something happens, she's still somewhat in control. Here, she just comes out and just is kind of frantic. It's kind of weird and just off from the character. And in Halbrand, we know who he is now, but in this scene, he's just very weird and cryptic. And why? Why is he being weird and cryptic when I think he would want to befriend her? So he's almost if I push her away, it will make her trust me more later. It's just so weird to me. So I kind of have a weird problem with some of these early Halbrand Galadriel scenes, and this is one of the big ones that jump out to me. At least that's my take on it. Later on, I think that their relationship makes more sense on how they interact, but here I'm still super confused what the plan was from Halbrand / Sauron.
Yeah.
But Elendil's good, and he's able to deliver Tolkien lines.
I was gonna say, so I've seen some people criticize the look of the armor.
Okay, yeah, the armor.
Do you think it's cheesy?
Yes, I think it's super cheesy. I don't like the armor. I do like the clothing they wear once they get into the city, when they're not wearing the armor. Now you could argue that as a city on an island that it involves a lot of their navy, their armor has to be lightweight, almost leather, and they're just trying to mimic the look of gold in a weird pseudo.
You fall in wearing full armor, you're dead.
That's right. So this is what I was talking about in a previous video of ours, where you can patch these things in yourself with very little creative addition, where you just say, hey, this armor can't be metal because it doesn't make sense for Numenor to have metal armor on ships. And then you can kind of wave it away like that.
Especially in like peacetime, like what's the point?
Oh, especially in peacetime. Like this is almost just, it's a uniform to mimic. You could argue it's a uniform to mimic armor that they would have worn in bygone era, in the same way that we wear clothing that was from military units from World War II. Like we wear trench coats and stuff that were born out of World War I and II. So you could argue something like that with this armor. I still don't like it for the fact that it does look kind of cheap. Like it, even if you were arguing that, I would still say that they would make the society of Numenor would make the armor look really nice. So I still don't quite like the armor. I do like the clothing when we get into the city though. So
well, I was gonna say before we get into the city, so the boat goes down that guess canyon, and there's those geoglyphs on the cliffs on the cliff face. I was gonna comment that I don't think they quite live up to the movies.
No, these ones these ones are not. These are CGI. The movie ones were a little bit too, but there were still miniatures of the movie ones. Here, I don't think they did miniatures. They decided not to waste time. Now, it's a show. It can't be doing as much to every scene. It would have been a nice nod to have a miniature and make it look more real, but I will give it a pass. You know, I know that they have to pick and choose where they spend their money, and I'd rather have them do it on battle scenes when they have them, and on other scenes that have more presence than just one shot of the ship coming through. But I agree with you. I think they could have been done better if that was a film, or if they had someone who was truly passionate about having the look stand up to the films. They would have known to do a miniature model of this and just give it that look of authenticity.
So yeah, I mean, I use a derogatory word here, but Galadriel is a huge B word. very, very arrogant, and I think it's actually there's some comic relief. Like, it's actually funny watching Halbrand try to de-escalate. He's like, what she means is what she's trying to say.
Yeah. Like I said, I have issues with some of these early banter moments between the two. For me, I still don't understand what Sauron / Halbrand, what the plan is.
I don't even think he cares about conquering Middle Earth at this point. He just wants to go be a blacksmith.
I'm glad you said it. I have that written down in my notes, and I was like, I can't say this. It doesn't make any sense, but that's what it seems like. He's staring longingly at a forge.
This is what he wants to do.
It's just for the audience. So when you do that in a film or a show, that is the internal dialogue. In a novel, you would normally get internal dialogue from that character. That is the moment for the film to show us what this character wants. He wants to be a blacksmith. That's it. He doesn't want anything else. And for this to be Sauron, like, this is why I jokingly said when we first did this episode, that's not Sauron anymore. This guy just wants to be a blacksmith. He's just a con man. and like, I just don't get. Heck, he didn't even know where he was. It cuts to him being confused where they are. Now, if I were writing this show and I wanted to be a kind of a reveal, I would have had him know where he is, almost in a way that he shouldn't. Like, he knew where he was going beforehand. And that would make it seem like he's got a master plan. Here, he kind of just is like, where are we? Oh, Numenor. I could be a blacksmith here. Like, it's just so random and, like, happenstance for him. So like I said, I just don't like the early dialogue and the early interaction between Halbrand, Galadriel, and even just like how they interact with Numenor itself. I just don't quite like, and I still don't on second watch. There are some stuff coming up though that I do enjoy more.
What do you think of his, like, what he's wearing is like very stereotypical like castaway rags. Is that even real? That people
I
look
know.
like that?
So like now that we know who he is, we can maybe say this is him shapeshifted into this scummy piratey looking guy.
Yeah.
But again, what is the plan? Why was he on that raft? Why does he save Galadriel? Why does he not know where he is when he gets to on a Numenorian ship?
Yeah, they need to create a whole spin-off now, just like Halbrand.
The early
Going-
the early adventures of young Halbrand.
I also commented that you can see Farazan controlling the audience pretty early,
Yes.
and he always has these like you might people will say they're stupid. I don't know. You can argue whether you like it or not. But he's got these stupid metaphors. He's like, I would sooner kneecap a stallion than do this or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know.
But I will say though,
and the whole crowd laughs at him too when he says
Yeah.
when he struggles.
So what I will say though about that, and I agree with you, some of the dialogue you can kind of take or leave, but the actor that plays Elendil and the actor that plays Farazan, they both deliver those lines with conviction more so than some of the other actors when they're tasked with doing these very heavy-handed, like medieval styled sounding phrases. I feel like when Farazan and Elendil say it, it comes across a bit more genuine, and I'm okay. Like, we're gonna get to one in episode 4 that I think we both don't like, and I think he delivers it well.
Yeah, he has another one here. Is like an avalanche can be started with one stone. That's another one he says.
Yeah.
He's just full of these.
Yeah, his character's full of these. The writers are giving him nothing, and yet I think he's one of the better actors. Like, he's selling this hard. Him and Elendil are, I think, doing a fantastic job. Like, I still have my issues, and it's not necessarily the actor's faults because we don't know what, like, the director and all that kind of stuff behind the scenes, but the way Halbrand and Galadriel, the way they deliver some of their dialogue, it comes across kind of off for me, whereas these two, they feel in place in this world, whereas yeah, I even the Queen, there's some aspects about how she talks that it feels fake, like it feels like it's for a movie instead of in-world dialogue. I don't know, that's just how I interpret it.
So I have a note saying, I've been searching for my piece longer than you know. So that's a Halbrand quote.
Yeah.
I guess that's some foreshadowing or backshadowing. I don't know.
Yeah. So if we wanna argue like weird quotes, I got one here. I think this is in the scene, or it might be like they might cut away and come back, but it's where is it? It's Elendil, and he says that it's unwise to live one's life guessing after signs and portents. But then he argues the sea is always right, and the sea put Galadriel in my path, and therefore
So
I
he
must
slowly
guess.
contradicts himself.
I must guess at that this is a sign, and live my life by it. So in the exact same scene, he is arguing both sides of it, and I don't know if the writers caught that or not.
Yeah. I was gonna say the civilian costumes look good. What do you think of the line, the sea is always right?
Yeah, so we've done this one before.
I know.
It feels way too much Games of Thrones-y.
There's gotta be a better way to do it. Like, the sea is, I mean, I'm not good
So-
at this either, but the sea is our master. Or like,
Yeah.
Or like the sea is always right. It's too much like the customer is always right.
Right. So so I've got a whole bunch of things here. So yeah, sea is always right. Sounds like customer's always right, which is just that in itself is a misquote already. So it's already going into bad
I
territory.
didn't even know that.
Yeah, so it's the customer is always right when it comes to what is it? The customer is always right with taste. So it's if a customer doesn't.
So they someone just cut that last bit off.
Right. So some guy talking to some boardroom cut that last bit off, but it's not that you just do whatever the customer says. It's if they don't like a product because it doesn't look a certain way, then you'll alter the creators will
right
alter the
about
product.
that.
It's
Yeah.
not about the store clerk having to suffer Karens, okay? It's not that. But anyway, so already that quote is off, but then it sounds way too much like Game of Thrones. And at the same time, I've just rewatched all of Seinfeld, and it sounds a lot like the scene where George Costanza is talking about when a whale washes up on the beach and he has to go out. The sea was angry that day, my friends. Like an old man trying to send back soup at a deli. That's all I can think about now when I hear the sea is always right. So it's like you've got all these problems with that line. And I know what they were going for. Like, so do you. Like, we're trying to come up with better ones.
Like,
but
the sea is mighty would even be. I
Yeah.
don't know.
yeah. Or like, heck, you could even steal something from Mulan. Like,
Don't underestimate the sea. Something like
as
that.
swift as the sea, or like something silly. But anyway, it obviously
Like the essence is like the sea can like fuck you, right?
Well, so
you have to like be you have to know what you're doing. That's basically what it's about.
That's right. Yeah. So I've got to like I think you're right. I think you like the sea is basically the giver of life for this society, but also can take it away.
Yes.
And so you have to respect it, and you have to follow its commands. If we take your metaphor
Yeah,
further.
I mean, it would be like a total Bible ripoff, but they could say like, "The sea giveth, the sea taketh away."
I actually like that way better. So already that's better. Obviously, you need to like workshop these lines. I'm not gonna have it off the top of my head here, but I don't like the sea is always right. The way it's chanted sounds silly. Like you need, if you're gonna chant something, there's gotta be some oomph to it, and the sea is always right just doesn't have it for me. Yeah, that I guess that's the extent of that. I know what they're going for, so like going forward, I guess I won't like talk too much about this, but yeah, there's just something off that it's all these things that add up, plus the lore stuff that people get upset about and eventually are turned off by. And that's definitely one of them right there. Do we go back to the labor camp at this point? I think that's where we go, right?
Yeah. I said I think the orc's reaction to the sun is well done.
Yep. So I really like that they show more of that than.
Yeah, we never really got to see that before.
Yeah, so like Peter Jackson, like that it's mentioned, I believe, but like we just don't see it playing out that way. I like seeing it happen, so that's neat to see.
Then you have to sweep these lands like salt from a table.
Yeah, I know.
Like, did you need that at all? Let's cross out the simile altogether. Sweep the lands is fine.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like it does feel like they as they're writing it, they're almost using like some sort of algorithm to be like, how do we make it sound Tolkien? How do we make it sound medieval? And it's like use these metaphors, but like that's not. Yeah, you get some of that in the original trilogy, but it's not all sorts of these weird metaphors. There's like when they come up, they're either more impactful or they're silly and yet powerful. Like the one that seems silly is when they're in the mines of Moria and Gandalf realizes we're gonna go this way because it doesn't smell so bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's something silly and dumb that you could easily say that's stupid, but because up until this point he's been this somewhat stoic and somewhat serious, like once you get past the Shire moments, somewhat serious character, for him to then turn and he just had a powerful moment with Frodo talking about Frodo saying he wants to kill Gollum, yes. and he tells him don't be so quick to deal out death and judgment, and then he goes this way, it smells better. Like that works, and people love that scene. And so you can have these sillier sayings or sillier moments, but you need more truly impactful moments beforehand to get through these other ones. And that's what I have a problem with Farazan as well. Like you said, he throws a lot of them out there. He does have a good speech. I think it's in the next episode where prior to him saying one of these silly lines, it's a really good speech. So it ends up working for me, but yeah, I think you gotta set the stage before you just dive into salt from the table, that kind of stuff.
Okay, they slice the throat for not cutting the tree, and I said I actually do feel sad. So emotions are actually successfully evoked from me here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think they need it. Like, in hindsight, this needed to happen because they were being treated a little bit too well from what we would expect from orcs. So to have them almost be like randomly ruthless, that's a bit more in keeping, and it actually makes them a scary presence. And so I, as much as I was also sad to see that character get killed like that, I do think we needed to see these orcs actually abusing these elves to truly make us realize that these orcs are not just silly nothing, creatures that you can kill with one guy can't just cut through this entire army. Like, these guys mean business.
Okay, I think for me, I'm jumping back to. I guess I just didn't have anything to say, but I'm jumping back to Numenor.
Yep.
And the mega guy, I call him the mega guy.
Yeah.
Says, "What are you called?" And Halbrand answers, "Depends." So, like, that's more Sauron hinting there.
Yeah. So I actually kind of like that. In this scene, there's a combination of things I like and things that I wish they did a little bit better. But yeah, so I do like him being a bit more cryptic around these people, but at the same time, we believe he wants to be a blacksmith. Why is he being antagonistic? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why not? He's Sauron, right? He doesn't have to prove anything. He's already established that. So why not be a bit more nice and like try to befriend them instead of antagonizing them, stealing their stuff? Like, his plan, I still don't understand Sauron's plan here. Like, this is my problem, is that until we're back in Middle-earth proper, the planning from Sauron seems random, and like things happen to him and he goes with it. And that doesn't feel like Sauron to me. Yeah.
Anyway, they corner him and they're gonna like beat him up. And he says, "Please don't do this." That feels like a warning, not like a beg. It's like, oh, you're gonna regret this.
Well, and this is like the thing where it's like, so he stole their stuff.
Yeah.
His plan was go back to the blacksmith, who's already just.
Say, I have this now. Oh wow, you actually are.
Oh wow, yeah, you went to school in one day and got your license, and so he steals this thing. He gets confronted and he goes to them. Please don't do. Give it. Like, what did you expect to happen when you stole their thing? And then the "please don't do this" line. That's the only moment where I'm like, oh, he doesn't want to like go to jail or something. Like, oh, now he's like, oh, my plan sucks. Like, it just feels like he did not think this through. And it's Sauron we're talking about. He must have thought it through. So
yeah, the anger coming out is also Sauron-y, but he also, because they keep calling him Blowman, and at that point he actually says it's Halbrand.
Yeah.
So it made me think about like, what are you called? And he answers "Depends," and finally says to them, it's like, it's Halbrand to you. So
yeah,
like, maybe like I'm trying to think like, someone he might say my name is Sauron, someone else he might say my name is Halbrand. So he's established it. To these people, I'm Halbrand.
Yeah.
I don't know what I mean by that, but maybe it means like, to like human scum I don't like, I'm Halbrand.
Well, just that again, this is moments where it's like a little too much like a wink from the writers of the show, where it's like, oh, is this Sauron? No, it's Halbrand. Like, it just feels really weird to constantly be talking about his name there. Like, I get what they could be going for, like you just pointed out, or even the fact that he's trying to establish a name for himself. You could even argue that aspect about it. But because he's one of like the main at this point in time, he is one of the main suspects of being Sauron. It just feels a little too jokey with like a wink to the audience when he doesn't really say anything, and again, his plan still doesn't make sense. I still don't even know why he gets arrested, to be honest. You could say it's for stealing, but it's not. It's for a tavern brawl. So, like
that he didn't instigate.
right, like 4 people attack him, and he wins that fight, and he gets arrested. And it's a missed opportunity for him not to get arrested, and then for the crowd that starts to turn on Galadriel and him.
They were like, why wasn't he arrested?
Right,
Well,
it
was
gives
really
it-
his fault.
Well, but see, like, we would know that, and like Pharazôn would know that, and the Queen would know that, but like the townspeople just see this elf and this random human running around doing whatever they want with no punishment. What's going on? Like, it would galvanize the public a little bit better than what happens in the show. Yeah, I just, there's a few just missed moments that I think would have worked if they do it slightly different, but everything else still stays the same.
Okay, so with that, I'm jumping to the library, which I
Alright.
think looks good.
I will say the horseback riding to get there, we passed over this, but like nothing to say other than waste of time. Like, we did not
Yeah.
need that much horse riding.
And then we get into the thing where like that sigil, quote unquote sigil, is just really obvious.
Yeah. Like, anyone who's looked at a map.
How did no one realize this?
Yeah, because like, how long has Galadriel been hunting this? Like, she never looked at a map once. Like, what's going on here?